Turn on the recording, and you know what that means.
Yes.
We are live. So thank you for coming, Andrea. Before we get started with your wonderful presentation, enlightening presentation, and I hope for some people life-changing presentation, if you're not interested in networking or if you're not using it effectively, Andrea is going to talk to us about that. But before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about SCORE. SCORE is a nationwide nonprofit organization. We offer free, always free, confidential, we will not talk about your business other than to other mentors, service mentoring for you. Our chapter, which is the Minnesota chapter, which is here in Florida, it's a combination of Manatee and Sarasota counties. We have nearly 90 volunteers to help serve you and ready and waiting for you to apply. Our chapter was recognized as a Diamond Chapter of Excellence and also a Chapter of the Year last year. So we are very proud of that. Since 1964, SCORE has assisted over 11 million clients. And we help you in all phases of your business. From pre-startup, most of our clients come and say, well, I've got an idea. What do you think? And we'll walk you through the process and help you identify whether this is a viable idea or not. Or the startup phase, you actually opened a business and now you realize that you need some help. Or you want to grow your business. We're here to help you with your social media, with your marketing. Or lastly, you're selling or closing a business. We have a team that will work with you actually to either buy, sell, or close, right? That's the other side of it. When you're selling or closing, somebody's going to want to buy it. And we can help you identify how much you should be getting for that and the steps in that. I'd like to encourage you to visit our website, which is minnesota.score.org. There you can request a mentor. It's a very easy process. In fact, I was on an airplane this week and the guy next to me, I was talking to him about SCORE and he opened up his phone and applied to get a mentor. So apply all the time for a mentor and see if they can help you. Find a workshop like this or other webinars. We have weekly webinars and we do all kinds of topics. We have recorded podcasts and other resources such as templates. If you're looking for a template for accounting, we've got some templates on there. Lastly, I want to thank our sponsors and community partners. These are the folks that keep the lights turned on and allow us to bring you these webinars, and allow us to have meetings and get-togethers. So thank you all for helping us, and I hope that you would support our sponsors. And now I'd like to introduce Andrea Nierenberg, the driving force behind Nierenberg Consulting Group. You are it. She is an internationally known business development authority, author, speaker on professional development, sales, training, and business communication. So thank you, Andrea, for coming, and take it away.
Okay, thank you, Diane. And also thank you for enhancing the slides for me. And hello, everybody. And I do want to give a shout out to SCORE because as a former SCORE mentor and being involved, the most wonderful organization for anyone in business or who's starting a business or has one, because you have a built-in advisory team when you think about it. So many different opportunities. So anyway, today we're talking about networking, and networking is a misunderstood word. I always say the opposite of networking is not working. Every time you meet someone, you have an opportunity to learn from that person, be a resource, and give. Now, this presentation we're very time conscious, so it's effective. I always say a great presentation should be like a mini skirt, brief yet cover the subject. So I am going to cover the subject. I could speak on this topic forever, and I do. So I'm only going to be doing small tidbits. However, I do put a shout out to everyone that my information, my email probably is on the end of the presentation. If anyone has a question or comment afterwards, please reach out to me. I always follow up. Number one rule of networking. So what we're going to do as we go through this is I will move away from the slides because again, those are just there. But the idea is to have the takeaways, and you have 2 handouts also, which I'm going to talk about. And then just in general, the do's, the don'ts, and what networking is. So you can go to the next slide, Diane. Okay, so again, we can't turn to a neighbor right now. However, when people hear the word networking, what comes to mind? All kinds of thoughts conjure up. And you know, it's funny. It's a noun, it's a verb, it's an activity, it's a process, it's a skill. Think about people that you admire and what's something in your life that has resulted from networking. And I want to go on camera and record to say that you don't have to be at an event. Networking is life. The opposite of networking is not working, as I always said. You can always learn from someone, give, and become a resource to them. So that is a very key thing to do. But if you're listening to this, even at your office or with other people, or maybe your team, if you have your own business, think about the fact that you've also got the opportunity to share some of these things, because internal networking in your companies, in your organization, is also vital and key. It's not just about meeting, it's about what do you do after you meet the person. So you can go to the next slide. So I always say my 5 drivers. Okay, every day what we should be doing. And when we had COVID, I still said to people, you can still do these opportunities all the time, because it's not just meeting, it's connecting, it's learning, it's building a relationship. So when we say meet people, you know, being out there, going places, often people will say to me, in every part of life, and I meet with a lot of people now that are also retired or transitioning into a new period of life, maybe moving. Think about who's already in your current network. And for a lot of you business owners, it could be clients, prospects, colleagues, other people around, people, even our competitors. Who do we connect with all the time? And to know that you have to get out, whether that means turning on your phone, your computer, and reaching out to people that way, or if it also means to get out of the house, get out of the office. Because I tell people a lot that if you only want to meet the UPS or the Amazon people, stay at home. You've got to get out and do things. So nurture your network. This is key, and I have to talk a little bit about this. It's not on the slides, but I want to talk about it right now. This is the key thing to do. Nurture the people that are in your network, because those are the people that will introduce you to other people. And that's how your network grows. It's not about quantity. Like people will say to me, oh, I've got thousands of people on my LinkedIn. Fabulous. How many of them would even reach back out to you? The idea is to nurture, nurture, nurture. So I have a theory called every day we need to have a power half hour, if you will, or even a power hour where you actually put a lot of your networking drivers into action. And that's about connecting with your people and interacting with them. So I have something called the power of 3 + 1. Okay, you heard me right, 3 + 1. So do 3 things every single day, 3 of them, and then plus 1 more. So again, when we meet people and we connect with people and we learn about people, here's number 1 question to ask them. What's your preferred method of communication? Because some of us might like email, some of us like phone, some of us might text, whatever it is, social media. I know face-to-face is the key. However, this is so important, because if we think about the fact that we reach out to other people for the follow-up, because it's all in the follow-up when we connect with people, it's got to be in their preferred method. So I go through my database, my lists all the time of people, and every day I will send out 3 emails. They can be hi, thinking of you, touching base, read something that you might be interested in. Whatever it is, stay connected. So it could be through email. I also will send out texts, 3 texts. Now you can send more, but this is your power half hour, power of 3 + 1 that you've got to do every single day if you want to build your network and make it grow. And then so 3 texts, touch base with somebody, could be to say thank you to people. 2 words that are very often not used enough. Thank you. Just touching base. And then 3, remember what we originally bought these things for? I think people can see me. A phone was for to speak on. We never speak on them anymore. So I still know people who like to just get a voicemail message, or they like to talk. So just reach out. 333. There you've already connected with 9 people in some form. You might not have spoken to them all, but you've touched base. And why do I call it +1? I have a habit. No one will ever beat me at this point because I've been doing this since I'm 16 years old, and I'm a lot older now. How many of us see this, a pen? How many of us write handwritten personal notes? I can't see you out there, but I'm hoping that some of you say yes. I call this your 54 cent. I think that's what the price of the stamp is today. I get the forever ones, but a stamp. Thanks, Robert, for telling me. And I appreciate that. I call it your 54 cent investment plan, because every time you write a handwritten note to somebody, wow, they get it in the mail. Remember, they call it snail mail. I call it wonderful mail when I get that. And I used to be in the direct marketing business before it was the internet. So I know, but this is with handwritten note. I do, ready? 3 a day. The end of the week, 15. At the end of the year, it's over 700 connections. I know a lot of us do it. If you say, oh my God, this poor woman, all she does is send out notes, emails, and texts and write notes all day. Let me tell you something. It takes at least a half an hour to 45 minutes to do all this. Stay connected to your network. Don't worry about it just growing. Connect, build, and connect, because all those people will introduce you to other people and make connections happen. So I can't impress that enough, okay? And even if you write 1 note a week, you're still ahead of 99% of the people out there. That's 52. Okay, next note on this one. Yes, right. Listen and learn. Okay, now I know we all are good listeners. I would hope so, but we hear more than we listen. And if we think about that, every time you really listen to somebody, you have the opportunity to learn. You see the word ear is right there. There's also a secret word in the word listen, and it's the word silent, because sometimes we have to really listen to somebody when they're talking to us, whatever they're telling us. And I always say to someone when I meet them, you know, tell me more. 3 words that people will just delve into. They will tell you more. Tell me how you got into your business. How about this? Open-ended, high-gain types of questions. The more you listen, the more you learn. And when that happens, things like that, somebody, you know, people sometimes, and people will ask me all the time, that's probably easy for you, Andrea, you're extroverted. Au contraire, I'm an introvert. I'm a learned extrovert. So I know things to do, but I work networking again in my own way. Okay, it's meeting, it's connecting, it's learning, it's listening. I'll tell you all, by the way, create rituals for yourself. Part of this is, even when we talked about the power half hour, create a ritual to really, the next time you're on the phone with somebody or you're talking face to face with somebody, be present and take away something. Learn something that you just picked up new. And you have one of your handouts, which I will talk about just briefly, and you'll see it later. It's called the information bank. And people say, what is that for? Every time we talk, connect, learn, observe someone, somebody's telling me I'm wrong about something, but I can't really read the whole question right now. So I take all kinds of criticism. That's fine. You can tell me. But when I learn things about people, like different things over time, personal and professional, I write them down in my information bank. And they're things that I can go back to all the time, reconnect with somebody. I'll never forget from my New York days where I used to be living, and everyone will get copies of all of this, by the way, is one of my clients had told me that he loved fly fishing. I wrote it down in my networking handout that of course went right into my computer. I'm extremely organized that way, as I'm sure all of you are. Keep records that you know you can go back to. And I remembered that he liked fly fishing. And I also remembered that he was a voicemail person. He liked phone messages. So maybe a year goes by, we connect, we work together, but something was in the New York Post. I don't know if anybody's from New York, but the New York Post Dirt Alert was a wonderful publication. I would read it all the time because it had little tiny stories. Sent him a note. There was a whole article on fly fishing. And I wrote to him, and I sent him a note, and then I called him on the phone, left him a voicemail, said, just make sure you get your mail to, in the next few days. There was a great article on fly fishing. He calls me back up. He says, how did you ever know that I like fly fishing? He told me. He says, I tell people a lot of things they don't remember. So all I can say is think about it today in your daily life, whatever you're doing, listen and learn. And remember, we listen not only with our eyes, as a lot of people do, we listen with our ears. And that's the key. We were given 2 ears and 1 mouth to use in proportion. Continue to do that. So 55% of our communication is visual. We make an impression about someone when we meet them or connect with them. And that's something that we want to look at when we go to an event, is we get body language, all these kinds of things, but we don't really know what's going on in someone's head. But 55% of our assumption is visual. 38% is our tone of voice. 7% are the actual words. So today, walk away from this opportunity and say, I'm going to listen to at least one person totally. That's hard. I have a listening exercise that I don't have in this workshop, but I can send it out to anybody who sends me an email. And it's a little quiz you go through to see, do I really pay attention and listen? And am I present to people that I, just sort of know what they're going to say, and we make assumptions? Key thing, be present. Learn something new about someone today that you already thought you knew something about. Okay, go to the third one. Create advocates. Again, my wonderful dad always would say, again, give without remembering, receive without forgetting. And that's the key thing. He's up in heaven. I hear him every day. Give without remembering. So give your information, give your advice, give your help. It comes back to you tenfold. And don't keep score. Create advocates and all kinds of centers of influence. I worked a lot in my career and my business with financial advisors, attorneys, lawyers, all kinds. So what I'm saying to people is create those connections. Other people will refer you, because the key thing is when other people know us and other people want to refer us and send business or opportunities our way. Someone once told me a long time, and I love this, the wind blows a lot further when someone else is blowing your horn. So remember that. It's so key. Again, think about what you do, how you give. That's another opportunity to reach out to people. Thank you. How many of us have ever not gotten a piece of business? Am I the only one? I know someone, they pick somebody else. It's okay. But still, write to that person who perhaps didn't hire you and say, thank you for the opportunity of pitching for your business, or thank you for the opportunity of this. Perhaps down the road, there'll be something, else or whatever. I wish you continued success. Always leave class act. Key thing, but it happens when we build advocates. We build our centers of influence all the time and everything. By the way, I left this in my apartment, but I have something also that is a mirror. How many of you keep a mirror on your desk? I wonder if any of you do. Just a mirror. Well, you have your mirror on your phone. So what I'm saying, it's not to stare at ourselves, but it's also to see what kind of reaction when I'm talking to somebody. What's my body language? It's so key and so important. There's volumes on that. And I always like, even on the phone, to say, can your smile be heard? Right? So think about that. Can you hear a smile over the phone? Can you hear an attitude over the phone? We all know people who need a checkup from the neck up. I'm talking about, put your first foot forward, even if you sit down at your office or wherever, and you do your networking at your desk, just like what we're doing now. I'm connecting with all these new wonderful people. Again, we'll see how many people follow up, because 4. Go to the next one, Diane. Thank you. Follow up. After all is said and done, much more is said than done. So the thing is, we all have great intentions to follow up, but what happens? Time. We get busy. We do other things. Well, guess what? Tomorrow, there'll be 5 more things on your plate. So I always say, think about what you're going to do when you meet someone, you connect with them. Now, if you go to a networking event, and we'll talk about the event in a minute, because a lot of people think that's where networking happens. I say networking is life. However, when you go to an event, strategic and structured, but everything, You meet a couple of people. Some people you are going to follow up with. You might say, you know what, I really enjoyed our conversation. By the way, I have a question for you. How would I know if someone I meet perhaps could use your services or use your business? Isn't that a great sentence to say to somebody? How would I know? That way somebody is going to tell you more about what they do. They're going to tell you what they're looking for, what their 30-second informational elevator information is going to be. But the key thing is, more importantly, is people are saying, well, I want to tell about myself. No, 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 no. You'll have that opportunity down the road. Follow up, meet 3 people, connect with them. I have an exercise also that I just want to throw in right here because it's good, because people will remember. I call it the 2-2-2 theory. That when you do go to a meeting or any kind of connection, or it can be anything, even if you decide to zoom into, no pun intended, to a new meeting of some sort, it's online. Maybe you go to 2 meetings. You find out about the organization, or you go to 2 meetups, whatever it is, or you go to 2 chapter things in your industry, or you go to places where your possible clients would be. Whatever it is, go to 2 meetings. Meet at least 2 people, okay? Meet at least 2. You can meet more, but 2 is manageable. And then find 2 reasons to follow up with those people. So send them a note, send a connection, say, let's make sure that we maybe have a cup of coffee. I'd like to learn more about your business, maybe see the operation, whatever it is. When we do that, the more we give of our time and learn, and if you put this into your workday, I promise you, business will come. Because again, this is not about cold calling. This is about building relationships, cultivating relationships, and doing it. So the whole thing is, again, after all is said and done, much more is said than done. And by the way, make it manageable. There's a great book that I read. Everyone has their own rituals. I walk 5 miles every morning at 6:30. I know I'm a little weird, but the thing is, I listen to books, and the pandemic helped me listen to over 250 books just walking every morning. Audible's a great tool. There was one book called Atomic Habits. I don't know if anyone's read it, but it's about creating small rituals. Again, all these things that we're talking about, these 5 drivers of network success, you don't have to do anything else. This will be the key to, I guarantee and promise, and I would send anybody a book, one of my books that, I read the Atomic Habits better, but I would send anyone, if they wrote to me in a year and said, guess what, I followed these 5 principles, and guess what? I got 5 new clients or 10 new clients or something, I guarantee, or made a new friend or connection. It's all about everything in our life. So follow-up's key. Without doing it, nothing happens. Next one. I think the next, yes, stay on people's radar screens. Okay, so I always have to, I know a very strong client of mine in New Jersey would always say, this one is key. And I don't know why people don't do this, but find opportunities to stay on people's radar screens. So there is a great tool that we all have, Google Alerts. How many of us really use Google Alerts? You know what it is. And if you don't know what it is, and it's funny, sometimes people don't, but it's an aggregator. It's actually on the internet. And what you can do is you can go there and set it up for anything. I would certainly set it up for your own company, your own business, your competitors, all your prospects, all your clients. When anything comes up on the web about anything, you'll get an email. Now, some people say, oh, I've got so many. You can modify them all the time, but I can't tell you what a great tool this is. And I'm going to give you an example of it, okay? Because it's golden. Because you get things that people will be like, how did you know about that? Or, and again, you don't tell them Google Alerts, this is our secret. But the idea is all of a sudden you're up on their radar screen. So I have a client that I never, ever see the main top person at one of the private banks in New York City. I work down through his organization, which of course is normal, but he's email preferred, always send an email, just touching base. However, there was an article in the Financial Times, which I don't read every single day, hardly at all, but it was an article about him, how he was redoing his division of the private bank and what he was doing. And there was a whole article. So I saw it and I sent him an email and I said, congratulations, wonderful article on all the things you're doing. Continued success. That was it. Nothing else. I didn't say, let's have a meeting, more business, anything, nothing. This is a man who doesn't really write back so fast. Within 2 hours, and he was on an international business trip, he wrote back to me and he said, thank you so much. He goes, how did you see this already? I didn't even see it yet. Remember, I didn't say Google Alerts. I just said, oh, I saw it and it was wonderful. And he's like, I can't believe it. The reporter didn't even send it to me yet. I said, no problem. Anyway, I said, I can send you a copy because I made sure I ran out and got a copy of it. But the idea is, he then said to me, you know what, Andrea, it's been a long time. Get on my calendar. Now, was he thinking of me before? Absolutely not. Did I create a way to be on his radar? Yes. So easy to do that. So easy. And by the way, if you utilize LinkedIn and a lot of the different social media tools that we have now, to use them in a professional way, even by posting things, any kind of information, touching base, every time you see someone, when you go through the posts, the notifications, and it's a great way to retouch base. Every day, someone will say to me, I'll see somebody that I haven't seen for a while or touch base because, you know, life changes, moves, things like that. Touch base with people, reach out to them. I will promise you, if you put this into action, you will see results. This is true networking, by the way. Okay, next slide. So networking can be strategic and structured. So I know you're all going to get a copy of my checklist. What do you do before, during, and after an event? We'll go through that in a few minutes, just some main points. However, that is a workshop in itself, because what do you do before, during, and after, all the different things. But so when you're at an event, it is strategic and it's structured. You know you're going to go, whether you're going to connect with people, you're going to do your pre-work before, you're going to do some things. And by the way, I'll tell you a little tip, by the way, a great one. If anyone's going to a networking event coming up, anything at all, find out who the organizer of the event is, and then make sure, oh, Diane, you know what? I think the slides are not there. There you are. Okay. So make sure that you find out who the organizer is, or you can find out very easily, and just send a note to that person, whether it's an email, a text. I prefer even a handwritten note. Again, that's my thing. It's amazing. As soon as you walk into that event or meeting, you walk up to that person, you ask, is that person there? Or maybe one of their lieutenants are there, something like that. You've already got a connection. And they may say, who would you like to meet, or whatever. So know that. Serendipitous networking is life. Everywhere you go, think about how many of us have made a really great connection, whether it be at SCORE, with the people that you meet, or any organization or anything you've done. Think about, I call it your networking wheel, like all the different buckets and people and opportunities that you're involved with. So you meet people anywhere, anytime. You're not going to become best friends with everyone or follow up with everyone. It's just not possible. It's not life. However, it is serendipitous. It can happen anywhere and anytime. And I bet if we were in a full workshop setting, and I ask this question, it always comes up. I'll say, how many of us have met someone that either an opportunity resulted, business, something, just they were doing their own thing, living their life. So do it. It's subconscious. Sometimes we're doing it, but we don't call it networking, because people have very strict thoughts in their mind what it is. Now, I am older. I guess I should say I'm old now, because I used to teach at Baruch College in New York. They were one of my clients when I was, I'm trying to think, I had my consulting business 30 years in New York, and it took me all over the world. But the great thing is I would go to Baruch College and Pace College. Those students that I worked with, again, were wonderful. I'm still in touch with many of them now. They're running companies, but back then, 20 years ago, even then, you talk about what networking was, and people would be like, oh, I don't do that, or I don't go there, or whatever. Then they would find out that it's everywhere we go. So whatever you call it, it's still doing it. So just make sure you put it into action. And today, with every generation, it is truly amazing that we have to also learn how to network within generations and understand that people connect, communicate different than we might. Great thing to know is understanding all the personality styles and be able to work within them, and also understand the new in every generation. You can learn from people, as we all know, up, down, and sideways and across within the organization and age range of everything. Too often people, and this was something that I used to see in business, people would network up, but they would forget to network down. Key thing, up, down, sideways, and across. Connect with everyone all the time. Social. So social media, of course, as we all know, we're all on all of these things all the time, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. I don't know, you have to be where your clients are going to be too. And you have to find what works for you. And remember that, what works for you. And again, strategic introductions, the best thing of all. When I work with financial advisors, attorneys, or accountants, they all want to meet each other. Isn't it true? Because those people can connect each other. Think about your field. Who are your spheres of influence, your contacts and connections that can open the door and help you? And by the way, who do you open the door for too? It's always about who do we do it for first, because we have to give before we get. Always give without remembering, receive without forgetting. So we've got all this, we got that. I call that your S factor of networking. Okay, next. So again, as I said, introverted, extroverted, what are some of our strengths and some of our areas of improvement? So I always think about the fact, I know that I like to have my own time. I like to be in my own head. I like to do that. But I know also that when it's my power half hour, or when I'm out doing things, and again, it's just being friendly. And it's just being, when you think about it, it's Dale Carnegie. If anybody, when I say that, I'm definitely dating myself, but I used to be a Dale Carnegie instructor. If anyone hasn't read that book, it is a wonderful book just on human relations and just on people skills. And that's what all this is when we think about it. And you don't have to be, whether you're extroverted or introvert, you could be anything. Most of us are actually in the middle, an ambivert, we're part and part. So the thing is, just think about your strengths and think about, we can all be better listeners. If I asked everyone to raise their hand if you could be a better listener, I'm sure every hand would go up. That's it. What are our growth opportunities? What are some of the things that we could grow on? Sometimes people will say to me, oh, I had all good intentions of following up and writing that note or doing that, or I didn't want to go to the party, whatever it is, just push yourself out and do it. Okay, next. So the opposite of networking is not working. I've said this a million times. That's like my mantra. Just think about that all the time. And again, when people will say, I want results right away. The results, even from this workshop, won't go into effect for 3 to 6 months. Why do I say that? Start your process, start your ritual, start doing some of the things we're talking about, and then see the results. Okay, next. Okay, so I'm going to just have you put these all up, Diane, right away, because they're, again, this is just, I'm just going to briefly go over this because, again, I always say that life is like a mirror. If you smile into it, it returns the greeting. If you frown, it returns that greeting too. So again, I'm not saying, I used to live in New York City, walking down the streets of Manhattan, smiling everywhere you go, but I'm saying you're in a safe environment. When you go somewhere, smile, be open, be approachable. Key thing in networking is be approachable. And, think about that. Sometimes if we go to an event or a meeting, have you ever noticed somebody who's sitting by themselves? I always go over to that person. Why? Because I've been there before myself. Introduce yourself. What brings you here? Have you been to this meeting before? Tell me about yourself. Wonderful. We talk about exit strategies also in my checklist, but the thing is, smile, be open, look people in the eye. I bet how many times in the course of a day are people talking to us and looking everywhere but looking in the eye? Eyes are the windows of the soul. So connect with somebody and look at them. So these, by the way, these little tips, so basic, so simple, but not always used. Listen, okay, the IRA is make an impression, repeat somebody's name, and then form some association. How many of us have ever met somebody? And I always carry in my toolkit, something to write with, and very hard. Sometimes it's hard to do that if you're talking to someone at the time. Sometimes though, if we're really into conversation, I said, I'm learning so many wonderful things about you. Do you mind if I take a few notes? Only one person in years ever said no. I said, okay. But the idea is when you write things down, you remember them, and it's important. So you form an impression, you repeat. But how many of us have ever forgotten somebody's name? We all have. So I don't say, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot your name or what. I just say, please forgive me. Tell me your name again. Just very simple like that. No one's ever said to me, guess what it is? They're going to tell you their name. Then you repeat it in your mind. Diane, so great to talk to you. And you don't want to say it too many times. Then it becomes an annoyance. Form an impression, repeat, form an association. Body language is key. If you're at a group meeting and you're talking to one person, watch their feet. And the reason I say that, if the feet are pointing towards you, they're interested in talking. If a foot is to the side or something, that means they're open for someone else to come in. But beware of body language. That's why I'm so key about everything about the body when I think about that. Eye contact, smiling. These things are simple. And by the way, more important on Zoom than ever before, or anytime you're doing anything like we're doing. Like you can see me, I can't see any of you, so I'm just assuming you're all smiling back. But the idea is, again, be aware, reach out, be proactive, again, and be positive. Again, I love that. I sometimes see that when I'm driving, and I see that on the license plate in front of me. And it's such a great thing. It's so easy to say, oh, this doesn't work. Much easier to, as somebody always said to me, take the high road. I love this. Take the high road. There's less traffic there, much less traffic. So go for it, things like that. And always thank someone. Okay, next one. Look for common interests. Again, okay, 24, I become aware. This is why, whatever your mode, we have so much information on this. I mean, again, you can go to college and continue in education on your phone. There's always an opportunity to learn, to be open, to pick up things, every day, every hour of our day, and have a plan and goal. When you go to an event or meeting, and I have that in my checklist, have a goal in mind, a plan. I want to meet at least 2 people. Go back to your 2-2-2 exercise. Do it, put it together, do your homework consistently. Again, you've got to do your homework before. Think about some of the people that you might want to meet. Sometimes you get a list of people who might be going to an event. Sometimes you don't. So it doesn't matter. But the idea, prepare. Think about what you're going to say when somebody says, tell me about you. What do you do? And you don't want to go into anything too long. You want to make it short, to the point. I always think of my 3 B's, most brilliant. Be brief, be brilliant, and be gone. Don't talk a lot, because you notice, again, on body language, have you noticed when people have glaze over their eyes? They're like, get me out of here right now. The idea is, so you want that to be where somebody is involved. So be proactive, get involved, think about that, and be clear about what you do. When people say to me, oh, I do everything, they do nothing. So again, we can have different diversifications, but again, remember to be clear. What do you want for every audience that you're talking to, for every group? Your elevator intro might be a little bit different. Think about what works, practice it, and make it proactive all the time. And remember, again, I'm a huge believer of writing those notes down, because no matter how sharp your mind is, it's still weaker than the palest ink. But what I mean by that is we can't remember everything. No matter how smart we are, we forget. So that's why I'm always carrying around things. Okay, next. Okay, that I know this. Sorry about that. I did not do the slides, you know, it's just how they are. How do you wish to be remembered? Think about brief, hard hitting, keep it short. How do you want to be remembered? What do you want your clients to say about you when you're not in the room? What's your brand? You know, there are plenty of workshops on branding. How do you want to be remembered? That's a good exercise to do sometimes, is to sit down and write 3 adjectives that describe you. And a lot of times when we ask for introductions from people, and that's a big thing when somebody says, would you feel comfortable introducing me to someone? Or I say, make it easy for me. How would you like me to introduce you? I'll be happy to do it if I know the person. You have to know them, like them, trust them, and respect them. That's big. And none of this we don't get any introduction until somebody knows us, and it takes a while to know us and develop a relationship. We hope they like us, right? At least respect us. But the idea, people like to do business with people they like, respect, and trust. Key thing. Everyone says, oh, I am, but until we get burned. And then, you know what, again, remember, it takes forever to build a reputation. It takes about 5 seconds to lose it for good. So the thing is, think about, you know, how would you describe yourself, or what would you like me? How can I make it easy? And I tell people this all the time. You write down your introduction so that I can then say, so-and-so, I'd like you to meet, or I'd like to create an introduction to you and so-and-so. This is a little bit about this person. Just connect, leave it up to them. Okay. But it's important to do this, spend time and develop several introductions, because think about the different aspects of your work, and don't try to fill it all in one thing, because people will remember. And a great line someone taught me years ago is, a confused mind always says no. So if someone's confused and they can't figure out what we really do or how we do it or whatever, it's easier to just sort of walk away, right? Or they'll smile, maybe a nod, and say, thank you all. If I have something, I'll let you know. But the key thing is, think about all this. This is part of your homework in your 20-second introduction. And by the way, the 20-second introduction is now down to like 7 seconds. In some of my workshops, we used to say what you do in 10 words or less. And that's hard sometimes for people. But if you take out all of the, you know, the fluff and just put down, what do we do? And then you can kind of build around. Think about Michelangelo, how he built, you know, from one piece of slab of the sculpture. So go ahead, next. Focus on the impact, keep it short, rotate, make it relevant. I always love that line. What's going to be the key thing that you say that someone will say, ooh, tell me more about that. And sometimes you don't want to do it there. If you're at an event or a meeting, you might say, you know, I'd love to be able to talk more with you and share both of what we both do. I'd like to learn more about you too, because the key thing has got to be connection. You might say, well, I can't do this with everyone. No, not with everyone. However, you do, everyone deserves the respect if you're talking to them for a few minutes and they've shared. But you want them to say, tell me more, but let's do it another time. That's where the follow-up comes through. Okay, believe it. Don't, yeah, be careful not to oversell. Remember what I had said earlier, and I love that because someone taught that to me when I first got in business a long, long time ago, is you don't want to be too overselling and too, you know, there's a skinny line between being like zealous, if you will, or being, some people could take it as arrogance. So the idea is just believe in your self-worth, believe in what you do. You know you're good at what you do. And even if you're starting out, you know, though, you're building, you've gone to school, you've worked at this, you've been in the industry, you're doing it. So speak from pride and integrity. Key thing, I tell people this all the time, look up, look at the person and connect with them, right? Sometimes people will walk into an event, a networking event, a business meeting, whatever, like they're going to the guillotines. Remember? No, you got to look up and you got to give yourself a mental pep talk before you walk in that room too. Okay, next. Put your weight, develop, you know, deliver it with passion. Again, this is why it's another good thing. Practice in front of the mirror. and practice different variations. Practice with your family. I know they may laugh, but again, what are you doing? It's going to roll off your lips when you really need it to. Okay. And of course, be happy what you do. You know, I've met a lot of people who seem like they're ready to pack it in. No, be happy, show passion about what you do, and do it in your personality style. I'm saying if you're not somebody who's like jumping up and down, you don't want to do that. And you don't want to be too over the board, because again, people react to us so differently. We all react in the way we are. So if we see somebody who comes on too strong, again, what they might think is too strong, they may back off. So just remember, be approachable, be open, and just be, again, have your mind be like a parachute. You know, it only works when it's open. Okay. Watch for me go, which is my eyes glaze over. I'm very, very conscious of that when I'm talking to somebody. Get them talking. Again, get it on them. How do I know when I'm speaking to someone you might like to meet? What's your preferred method of communication? Again, people sometimes will say, oh, I do everything. That means they don't. Find one. But I always like to joke with people, oh, come on, if I had a gun to your head and I said, what's the best way to stay in touch with you? They'll tell you, phone, email, text, something. Do it. Just remember, go write it down, put it in. Know when to use the introduction and know when not to. Sometimes it's just like, hi, how are you? You don't have to go into your whole thing. It's just like, I'm in this or that. Brief. Again, you feel people out, know when to stop. Less is more. Always more is less. So brief and focused, to the point. You can always talk more, just, zip it up sometimes. Key thing is listening. Again, let them want to know more. That's the other thing. And again, this is why you have your stay connection opportunities to stay connected with people. And sometimes we meet people, it's happened to all of us. Somebody reconnects with you, they want to do things and follow up with me, and you follow up, you do everything, and then they go on radio silent, right? We don't know what just happened in their life. We live in a crazy world. It's always been nuts, but it's crazier and crazier. We don't know what happens every day with people personally, professionally. We don't know why sometimes. So don't be like, oh, that was worthless. We don't know. Be open, read, stay in touch, and put it into action. Now, if we were in a workshop, we would practice this, but we're not. I'm just going to leave it up to you to do that. Now, I'm not going to revisit these because we've got other things to do, but remember, these things are key things. Nurture your connections, listen, learn, build advocacy, follow up, and stay on people's radar screens. And find different ways to do it. And think about who you've thanked lately. How many of us have thanked all of our clients recently? Somebody who was an influence for us recently. A personal friend. Now, this is the time of year that everyone's going to hopefully be sending out thank you or holiday greetings and Thanksgiving and things like that. I say make Thanksgiving every day. Who can you thank? And again, short, sweet, to the point. It doesn't have to be War and Peace. Just a short note, a short email, a text, whatever it is. Wow, how many of us, when somebody says, that really made my day, of course, do it with sincerity and authenticity, because if you don't do any of this, because people will know. It's got to be transparent. It's got to be from the heart. It's got to be authentic. So if we were in a workshop, so this thing I call the golden circle of strategic networking is every time you meet with somebody, every time you connect with somebody, learn something about them. You learn their name. You learn about what they do. You learn maybe what brought them to the meeting or the connection or whatever it is. Do this even when you're SCORE workshops and everyone's sitting around and talking. Learn about each other. Some of the best opportunities of colleagues connecting and maybe doing business and connection is right in these wonderful workshops, in person or on Zoom. You never know. Give something. So give a piece of advice, give a piece of information. Give. Remember, give without remembering, receive without forgetting. Ask for something. So I always say, if you go back to that slide for a minute, ask for something. For example, I will say, with your permission, perhaps we could follow up or meet. Maybe I always say with your permission, because somebody might say, I'm so busy, I can't connect right now with anybody. I'm like, okay, no problem. Thank you. What's your preferred method? I will always ask that. And how do I know if somebody would like to, if somebody might want to have your services? How would I know that? So they have to tell you a little. So I'm asking. Thank them, always thank, and then leave, and then follow up. Do this at every meeting, at every connection, internally too. I can't impress upon people when I do big workshops in large organizations. I tell people to come from every department, every unit. Make connections, because we talk to people from all over very often, and we don't realize internal networking is so vital and important too. So this is key, but try to use this circle as much as you can. Okie doke. And think of every networking opportunity that you have in life. I know that one of the things, if you can do the next slide, Diane, because I know we have to have a few questions. I just want to go through this. Think of some icebreaker questions, after that. Again, what brought you here? Tell me a little bit more about yourself. I bought some cards recently that I love. They're called like Get to Know You or Ease into the Conversation. And there's so many great things you can learn. You can even go online and find questions like open-ended, high game, because ask things that people have to tell you more than yes or no. So keep going. They're the get to know you questions, and then they create discussion. Even, did you go on vacation? Where did you go on vacation? Oh, I heard you like to travel. If you talk to me about travel, that's you're golden to me, because I've been to 93 countries and counting. So I'm on the go. So when I say that, I love to hear more. Tell me more. So keep going, find people's interests, and then go back to your information bank. Use this as a model, modify it. People even say to me, how did you know when my birthday was? Like, sometimes in conversation over time, somebody says, oh, my birthday was this, or I might say, oh gosh, what month are you born? When you get to know them, I'm not saying the first day they'll run away from you, but I'm saying these are things to know over time. And then you send a note or you send a connection. Again, it's all about the process. Your idea generators, people always want to know, how do I walk away? Okay, now in your networking checklist, which goes through all of this, and it's 3 pages, by the way, that you'll have in your handouts. People are like, what if I get stuck with, nice person, but I want to move on or whatever. You just say, it's been great talking to you, and I really enjoyed our conversation. If you're planning your follow-up and you've said it, you might say, I'll reach out to you, or I'll touch base, or we'll set something up. Enjoy the rest of your time again. Or you might say, you might see someone else and you might say, so-and-so, I'd like you to meet so-and-so. You put them together and then you excuse yourself. Again, don't say something like, I'm just going to go get a drink. And the person might say, oh, I'll come with you. Again, you don't want to leave them just by themselves. But the idea is you can exit in a positive way. But remember to end on a positive note. And even if you're not going to do business with this person, or you might not see a real connection there, you just say, what, it's really bad. Thank you so much for sharing some information with me tonight. I really enjoyed our conversation. Perhaps I'll see you at the next meeting, or something like that, because not everything is going to warrant a connection or a meeting. We all know that. And then you all know what to do about the follow-up. And again, I have something called a thank you chain. I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but I go back into my database, and every time I get a piece of business, an opportunity, anything at all, I go back and I see who was the first person that I met in that organization or in that connection. Now, I'm just going to give you a brief example of a big financial services firm that I worked with for 15 years at least. The first person, who I still speak to every week today, we speak every week, and he was my client for 15 years. He was one person in a huge organization. He was the person who opened the door. Every time I do anything, I always go back to him to let him know that I'm doing something. But now that list has maybe grown to 20 people in that one company of people that I've worked with. Why do I go back to each person to say, just want to say thank you? I'm now working with so-and-so. And if it hadn't been for you, I don't know if I would have ever met that person. Thank you so much. People are like, wow, I don't even know this person, but they were part of the chain. So all I'm saying, take that, modify it. It's gold. It is gold. Call it the thank you chain. So The next one. Okay, so this is something back in the day, and people always laugh when I say it, but I do have business cards. I don't know if we have them. People now use our phone. Somebody's now coming up with something that you can imprint into your hand. I'm not doing that, where it's like your business card is here. No, I'm not going to have a tattoo. But the idea is always have some cards or what people can get back to you or call you, or I know people say I don't speak, but they can be in touch with you. It's just a follow-up card. Pen and notepad, more for you than for anything else. So you can write down notes, because even when I walk away from somebody, if I'm not just, if I don't take notes when we're talking, I will take notes afterwards so I can remember, put it into my information bank, and then have something that I can follow up with. Breath mints, they kind of are self-explanatory. Again, people have to remember when you're in front of somebody, close quarters, even with COVID, we're not wearing masks anymore. And I think people are now out there. These things were written before COVID, but we should always have hand sanitizer. Note cards, stamps, and have them handy. I have a ton that I always get all the time, and I have them so that when I go back to my desk, I can just write 3 a day, and all kinds of opportunities to remember things about people. Write them down, simple, easy, and do it. The reason I say magic marker, so many times you go to those places where you just have to fill it in, but most of us also have, our own name tag that we get, that we have made up. And I tell people that all the time, make them up. So somebody might say, hey, that's interesting. What do you do? Or tell me more. Something that's creative. Have your props, so to speak. Okie doke. And again, we've already talked about this. Again, all these are the, and I said BlackBerry. Can you believe it? Somebody told me some people still use them. I can't imagine. But turn on everything. Be present, right? I know. Okay. Before we finish, and I know, do we have time for a question? I just want to, we're not going to go through this. I just want to go through my networking acronym, because I think, this will be things, that will keep. Diane, don't even show this one, because again, I just want to zip through this. Networking. If somebody has pen and paper in front of you, think of the word networking. Remember these things. N, what do you want to remember, people? Names. Nurture your network. Think about their needs. E, it's an evolution. It evolves over time. Engage with people, eye contact, ears open, and engage with people. It's an evolution product. T, talk less, listen more. Here it is. Talk less, listen more. Trust people. Take the time to do it. There's some work involved. The only place where success comes before work is in the dictionary. And by the way, if somebody wants this all, Diane, I can send it if we want to send it out to everybody with everything filled in already. Write notes. It takes work. The only place where success comes before work is in the dictionary, as I said. O, every time you meet someone, it's an opportunity to learn, be a resource, give. Ask people open-ended, high-gain questions, be organized. R, we all want to get referrals and things like that, but we have to first relate to the person. We have to build a relationship. It's a reflection back, and always do your homework and your research. Key things. K, kindness pays. It is knowledge is power with action. Kindness pays. Every single person you meet deserves respect and kindness. I, take the initiative. If you wait for someone else, nothing else will happen. Nothing will happen. Wait for you do it. You take the step and do it with integrity. Become interested in other people all the time. Sometimes you hear the word and, sometimes you have to say no. And what I mean by that is you can't do everything. You have to also say, don't go into an event or a meeting and say, I'm going to meet 20 people. Maybe say 3 people. Because if you do your follow-up and your work, it'll all come back. Sometimes they reverse the word no to on, and you just find different resourceful ways. And G, set goals, have gratitude, be gracious with your time, remember to give, and also know when to go. And I think it's time for us to go now, right?
I think so. So here is
workshop for 3 days or whatever. I tried to pull it all together, and we didn't cover everything, but like I said, it's even better, Andrea@nierenberggroup.com. I think you have my email, Diane. If anyone has a question,
I have put it in the chat.
I will follow up with everyone. who asks a question and has a question on anything. Again, common sense, just not always common practice.
Oh, right. So before we get to our questions, I just want to reinforce going to our website, minnesota.score.org. If you're interested in volunteering, maybe you'd like to become a mentor. We'd love to have you. Whether you would like a mentor to help you or look at our resources. You will be getting not only the video from this webinar and Andrea's slides and Andrea's handouts, but you'll also be getting a survey. And if you could take a moment to fill that in, that would be really great. And lastly, let's get to the questions, Andrea. So briefly, could you just reinforce, Kristen was looking for, could you repeat the 222 when you go to a network?
Go to 2 meetings, meet at least 2 people, and then have 2 follow-up meetings. So you meet 2 people, you connect with them, you talk to them, and arrange for at least 2 meetings with them. So one meeting might be like connect afterwards, have coffee or whatever, and then take it the next step too. Because we're not going to always join every group, but make sure you just put that in 222.
Great. Kim was wondering, what have you found are the best places to network?
Everywhere in
For
life.
you, that's probably everywhere, right?
Everywhere in life. And ask me anything, right? I don't, because if we think about it, if we think about the fact that you might meet somebody serendipitously, it's life. If you're going to go to an event, be strategic and be structured in what you want to do, but don't always go there expecting you're going to walk away with business. You probably won't. You're going to walk away with connecting. Even if you meet one person every day, and oh, I did leave something out. Every day, go through your network, meet somebody new every week. Always do that. It's just wonderful. Even if it's getting coffee at your Panera or Starbucks or whatever, get coffee, smile at somebody, hello, and do something nice for someone in your network, your sphere of contacts every week. Pick somebody, maybe it's a note, maybe it's an email, just something, reach out.
Okay, how do you respond to someone who has a habit of interrupting the conversation?
Yeah, people do that all the time, and you wait for them, to finish, and then you say something like, now, as I was saying, but don't, that's people. They're always going to do that. People are always going to, so, wait for them to breathe and then jump in.
Relative to networking everywhere, the guy that sat next to me on the plane who now has applied for a SCORE mentor, he didn't know that that was going to happen.
Exactly.
Okay, one last question. Thank you. To do some additional research after the presentation, what are the best books, audios, additional presentations on communications and networking that you would recommend?
Oh gosh, first of all, I know I've read 250 books since the pandemic. I would say go listen, learn, there's so many incredible books. And again, they don't just have to be on network. They can be on just anything. Learn, learn, learn. Also go to LinkedIn, study, read, go to SCORE, go to all the workshops. Because again, if we think about this, it's just skill, it's practice, it's people skills. And you meet some of the greatest opportunities and people and connections everywhere in life.
This is a good question from Faye. What system do you use to keep track of your contacts?
New people. I'm so old-fashioned in the fact that I created my networking, what I called my information bank, and I just keep it in my document, in my Word document. So in my database, I have it all. And then I know it sounds, no, for every person. Yeah. And then what I do, see, I'm not as smart as so many people, but whatever, I've learned things about people's important dates in their life. Could be their birthday, it could be the month they're born in, it could be an anniversary, it could be the anniversary of something sad in their life. And I keep that. When people tell me over time things you just learn, and then every month I pull it out, and then what I do, because I have it in my computer and I have a data continually grows, and then I'll just reach out to those different people with a card, a note, an email, something, thinking of you. Boom.
There's probably, just as an aside, probably Access has a database that you could download. There are.
Oh, there's so many good ones. There's so many CRM ones. I just like my old, I'm just like my old little system. Yep. Just me.
Yep, that's fine. That's fine. It works for you.
Works for me.
I think that's the last of the questions. Thank you. Excellent presentation. Thank you. Thank you. You
Thank
know,
you all.
you're not
And thank you,
surprised by
Diane.
all
Thank
of
you.
that.
Thank you and everyone at SCORE. Thank you so much. It really is a pleasure.
Well, thank you for sharing your knowledge and excitement. I know I can feel the vibe in the room, even if we're not in the room with all.
It's so true. It's, you know, people just think about, it's just, it's fun. It's life. You know what I mean? And every day you can learn something. That's the key thing. We can always learn. And sometimes we meet people that we don't like or we don't connect with. We can learn what not to do. So
Yeah.
like we learn from everybody, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop sharing, and sadly, I'm going to stop this presentation now. Thank you all for coming. Thank you again, Andrea.
Thank
You
you.
did your usual amazing job.
Thank you for working with me on help with all the slides and everything. I
Sure,
appreciate it.
absolutely. Happy to do that. All right. Bye now.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. And thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.